A large portion of the loot in Guild Wars 2 comes in the form of unidentified gear. Dealing with this gear and the different salvage kits can be confusing for a lot of players, and many players lose a lot of gold by either processing the gear incorrectly or just insta-selling it on the trading post. This video will help you avoid these scenarios and get a good yield from your unidentified gear by using a fairly simple system. The first step in dealing with your unidentified gear is to open it. Opening the gear bags will give you a chance at receiving pieces of gear with a higher rarity and therefore a higher value. This chance is not affected by magic find, so it's the same for everyone. If you want to make the process easier for yourself, you can stockpile unidentified gear and do larger openings instead of smaller ones. Once you've finished opening, it's time to salvage. For blue gear and miscellaneous salvage items like discarded garments, you want to use the copper-fed Salvage-o-matic. If you don't have it, then basic salvage kits are the equivalent, so use those. These kits give a 10% chance to get tier 6 materials like ancient wood logs instead of tier 5 materials like elderwood logs. These kits are very cheap to use, and there's really no reason to use a better kit on these items because the return that you get is not worth the extra gold that you would spend. For green gear, you'll want to use the Runecrafter Salvage-o-matic. In addition to a 20% chance of getting rarer base materials from salvaging the gear, this kit has a 100% chance to salvage the rune or sigil inside of a piece of gear, giving you lucent motes and a chance at getting charms and symbols. Some of these can be quite expensive, and so you really want to use the Runecrafter's kit if you have it. If you don't have access to the Runecrafter's kit, there's two other options. You can either use the copper-fed or basic salvage kits for green gear as well, which is the slightly easier option, or you can sell your green gear pieces to an NPC vendor, which takes slightly more effort. Overall, the more profitable option between these two is going to vary with the prices of raw materials on the trading post. If you don't have the Runecrafter's kit, my advice would be to determine if you need raw materials or raw gold more and pick the corresponding option. Then, prioritize getting the Runecrafter Salvage-o-matic so you have it for the future. For rare gear, you'll want to use either a Mystic Salvage Kit, the Silver-fed Salvage-o-matic, or a Master Salvage Kit. All three of these function in the same way. The cheapest option per use is the Mystic Salvage Kit, which you can make in the Mystic Forge with this recipe. If you don't have any Mystic Forge stones available, you can use one of the other two options. When you salvage rare pieces of gear that are level 68 or higher, you can receive between 0 and 3 globs of ectoplasm per salvage. These salvage kits will give an average yield of 0.85 ectos per rare piece of gear salvaged, which is the best that you can get out of all the standard salvage kits available. Because globs of ectoplasm are the most valuable item that you can get from salvaging rares, it's really important to use the correct kit here to prioritize getting ectos. Last, we have exotic gear. These have a few different options. The first option is using a Black Lion salvage kit, if you have one. This results in the best possible chances of getting globs of ectoplasm and will also extract the rune or sigil from the piece of gear every single time. You want to do this if the rune or sigil in the piece of gear is worth almost as much or even more than the price of the piece of gear itself on the trading post. This ends up happening with armor pieces more often than it does with weapons. The next option is to just list the pieces of gear on the trading post. A large portion of the time, this will be the best option for most players. As always, be sure to list them on the right side and not instant sell them. For exotic armor that is worth less than a glob of ectoplasm, it would actually be better to use a Silver-fed, Mystic, or Master salvage kit, but it's pretty rare for exotic armor to get that cheap. For exotic weapons, you can gamble them in the Mystic Forge to try and get precursors, but that has an extremely high variance and I don't recommend doing that. For most players, I'd recommend sticking primarily to the Black Lion salvage kit and trading post when it comes to exotics. So that just about wraps up this fairly simple system on how to deal with the gear drops that you receive. If you care to sort out specific items or make the process more complicated, you can get slightly more gold out of your gear. But for the vast majority of players, this system gives the best balance between being easy to learn and use, while still giving a very good value from your loot. If you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate you taking the time to give it a like and maybe even subscribe for more Guild Wars 2 guides in the future. Thanks for watching.